If you're a soloist, and therefore you have the advantage because you know what the car and the track feels like, you have to stop for 101 seconds. If it's a double driver entry, 98 seconds. So it balances out just slightly more on that outlap. 98 seconds for the double driver entries, 101 seconds for the soloists.
And in almost without exception, the races this season, the safety car has been out when the pit lane has been open. And so that extra 3 seconds has been really tough. For Amaury Bonduelle, for instance, who starts on pole here, he's our points leader. 3 times in 4 races, he's been leading, building up a big advantage to take into account that extra 3 seconds he has to remain stationary, only for the safety car to come out and to lose a place or 2 or 3 in the queue as the pit stops have happened because he must remain stationary. So now he's actually ended up winning 3 of the 4 races so far, but that is by no means guaranteed. You're right about staying out of the barriers. The other thing that the drivers must do, and particularly the minute they leave the pre-grid, which is just below the wheel here in the karting circuit, is they must avoid curbs on cold tyres. Hankook, who supply the control tyre for the Formula, have been really pressing this point. There are a couple of tyre failures in qualifying, in free practice and qualifying, because drivers are riding the curbs on low temperature, low pressure tyres and damaging sidewalls. So that's really important. The formation lap, you want to build temperature in the brakes, temperature in the tyres, not so much temperature in yourself, just calm down a little bit, but it's really critical to stay off the curbs. There's the 51 car grid. And we're going full circle here because 199 races ago, the first ever Lamborghini Super Trofeo race was held here at Le Mans. Today, race 1 is the 200th race of Lamborghini Super Trofeo. So, Stefan Winkelmann, the CEO of Lamborghini Automobili Lamborghini, is here, as are the great and the good from Santa Agata Bolognese, to celebrate an absolute milestone.
And it's fascinating to see how this championship has evolved in that time. I have a recollection of seeing them at Silverstone many moons ago, where it was barely a double-figure grid, and there was a huge disparity between some of the gentleman racers and the pros, like Peter Cox, who from virtually a lap down was able to come back and win the race. And Lamborghini had a look at that and tweaked it so it couldn't be a pro like that and an AM. It was a sort of silver-graded driver type pro. You know, you wanted to be a young gun, an aspiring driver, rather than an old stager. But it worked, because the championship has, catered for the gentleman driver and the novice through the Lamborghini Cup and the AM categories. But it is also now, rather than somewhere that you go and race just because, it is a career stepping stone. And Lamborghini Squadra Corsa has also morphed into a very serious operation, not only through this, but through GT3 programs and now Hypercar as well. And so young drivers look at Super Trofeo Lamborghini because do well in that, get picked up by the manufacturer, then you're on a career path. Other brands have done it, but Lamborghini now as well. And so this is very much a place where career racing drivers can come. It's still looking after the AMs. You know, you and I would be welcomed here, money allowing, but the gun drivers are here as well.
Yes, we're of an age where our previous gold ranking would have been age downgraded to a silver or potentially, you know, for you, a bronze.
Oh, definitely a bronze. Definitely a bronze. Yes, I don't think I ever aspired to be anything else.
But you're absolutely right. You know, drivers who are now stars in global endurance racing, like a Dennis Olsen or somebody, have cut their teeth coming up through this field. We've got drivers in the hypercar field racing for Lamborghini Squadra Corsa in the brand new SC63, who have also come through Super Trofeo. So it's, as you say, you know, it's a shop window. It's an opportunity to shine. Mirko Bortolotti, who's now been a Lamborghini factory driver for the best part of a decade, his first association with them was through Super Trofeo. And it's when I think people, drivers, when they come to a championship like this, enjoy the ambiance and enjoy the camaraderie in the paddock, enjoy the cars. Good Lord, if you can't enjoy this, you need your pulse checking. But they also don't, I think, quite recognise that sometimes among the higher strata of management, there is a little bit of potential talent spotting going on.
Absolutely.
In the early days, they didn't realise that. I think now people are aware, and so you do get young drivers coming in who are looking to progress. And you know, here at Le Mans, there's the big carrot.
Yeah,
there is the biggest carrot in any kind of sports car racing.
But in the early days, the championship was outsourced to another agency, and it was almost something, oh yeah, it's Friday afternoon, we need a couple of hours just on that championship. Now it's very much part of the Lamborghini fabric. Patrick Cuellar is an example of somebody that was a champion in Super Trofeo, was picked up by Lamborghini, placed in different teams in the German, in the British Championship, in GT World Challenge Europe, as an example. So yes, it has a major part to play in the advancement of career racing drivers, but it is still a great place for the AMs to come. And some of those AMs are very quick in their own right. I mean, Andrzej Lewandowski, for example, the Polish driver, has been a serial champion, whether it's been in the AM class or Pro-Am with a bit of help, or in the World Finals that Lamborghini runs. Yeah. And this has expanded again into Asia. It's had a bit of a break because of COVID, but it's back and it's growing. In North America as well, and then they all get together at the end of the season. And it illustrates not only the quality of the racing, but how many of these Huracans have been sold, but also what the brand means to people. Around the globe, Lamborghini is still a desirable brand. And there you can look down into the Lamborghini uniform with the headset on. Alain Adon, the race director, as he is also for GT World Challenge, and he is the permanent race director for Super Trofeo. So as soon as the marshals have swept what needs sweeping, he can release the cars, and we are almost, therefore, in business. That looks like it's down at Mulsanne Corner, where
it is
the Fun
down at
Cup has had some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, there's the big roundabout. If you go straight, you're coming from left of picture and then turning right and coming towards us. If you get it wrong and go straight on, you actually have to go round the roundabout and then rejoin and come back in. So a penalty loop, if you like.
We had this in the WEC second free practice session last night with a car that overshot and was trying to rejoin, and the marshal saying, no, round the roundabout.
Yes. Have you not read your driver's briefing?
Must obey the highway code.
No, absolutely. You know, you can't just have cars jumping back on track when everybody else is coming down at a ridiculous pace. And that will be the case in the race as well as for practice, not just for WEC, but for every other eventuality as well. So 1 minute board being shown by race control. That means the marshals are now back to their posts. And as I said, although the teams and the tyre trolleys are here in the 24-hour pit lane, the cars, as you see here, underneath the big wheel, are getting ready to go. Now, as well as David and myself, we have Dakota Jane down in the pit lane. Let's hear from her for the first time today.
Oliver, the 200th race of Lamborghini Super Trofeo. What an honor it is to be here at the Le Mans 24-hour track. You know, you're starting in 4th position. It's really tight in the championship, 9.5 points behind Bonduelle. This is a really important race. Yep. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, I didn't know it was the 200th race of Lamborghini. So yeah, it makes it even more special. And yes, it's only 9 points or so different between us and Bonduelle. And I mean, maybe it seems like a lot, but it can easily change. So we still have our hopes up.
Is there any kind of strategy for pit stops, obviously, because that seems to have played a huge role in the races up till now?
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell that here.
And Lagom, is he feeling confident in the car when you left him?
Yeah, he's doing a super job. It's more me. I have to get up to pace a bit. I didn't get too many laps in free practice. So, yeah, I will take this race to learn a lot and get on with the track. And
what's it like racing on such a historic track?
It's so strange because it's such a fast track and it's nothing what we've used to race. And yeah, it's just amazing, like going at those speeds. And I think also the racing now is going to be amazing, so I look forward to it. Good luck for the race, thank you.
That's a bit of a cliche, but there is nowhere like it, and he makes a valid point. You know, you can race at daunting tracks like Spa, historic circuits like Imola, but you come here, and it's partly the mix of permanent circuit and public roads. It's partly the length of the lap as well. There is nowhere like it.
Well, I think first-time fans, when they come to Le Mans, are just kind of left a little bit jaw slack. You must feel like you're being pinned to the wall when you're driving these cars for the first time. Imagine having never been here, got 560 horsepower Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and you roll out onto this hallowed track for the first time. I mean, you'll want to have done a lot of simulator driving to try and get yourself up to speed, to try and learn this track, because you don't get many, in free practice, you don't get many goes, rather, at getting chicane right, making your braking markers and so on. So there is a phenomenal amount to be learned. Now, the deal here is they have left in their grid formation from the collecting area. They will do the entire length of the 13.6 kilometre circuit as a formation lap. Hopefully, those who are late to leave will have finished before the leaders get around behind them. They'll be led round by the safety car. And in terms of pit stops, you just heard from Oliver Söderström, who, with Largim Ali starting their car, starting from fourth on the grid. Again, just a handful of points behind our poleman and points leader, Amaury Bonduelle. They do have the advantage that there are two of them in the car. There's Bonduelle in the gold car. They drive the black car with the green highlights. They do have the advantage of a slightly shorter pit stop, and Amaury Bonduelle must be praying that nobody shunts badly enough to have a safety car before the pit window opens.
But he does have some solace, even if that happens, that he's not handing over to a slower co-driver. It is him, and then it's him. Now, other drivers that will hand over to a slower co-driver for stint 2, and indeed that driver starts tomorrow, so it can work in reverse, they really are up against it, like a Milos Pavlovic, for example, because he quite often is the gun for hire with the gentleman driver. His mission in this is to push, 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 and try and build the gap for a class win. Now, okay, if the safety car comes in the first stint, it keeps his gentleman driver, if he's the start driver, in the mix, and then Milos Pavlovic can do the hard yards in the second one.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's another one praying that we don't get an interruption in the first stint. A very, very quick, crude effort offers you 3 people on this grid that I can think of that will have done the 24 hours.
All gone then?
Well, one I would offer you is Karim Auger.
Yes.
Claude-Yves Gosselin.
Yes.
And I'm sure Stéphane Lemray must have done it.
Oh, yes, I think that's a very good shout. Absolutely.
If there are any more, I'm willing to be corrected and have some added to the list.
Yes, Karim will have done it in GT and LMP2, I think.
Indeed.
So
Correct.
I think he's got a number of races here. And actually, that probably shows, because he is on pole in his Lamborghini Cup class.
Yeah.
Right, let's get back down to the pit lane with Dakota Jane and see who she's got to chat to.
Jacob, obviously starting P2 on the grid today, 4th in the championship, really tight on championship points. I think you're not very far from the 3rd place at all, so definitely in contention. What's the plan today?
I think the plan is quite clear. We want to get as many points as possible. I think starting front row in Le Mans is quite a special thing, and it's full of emotions. We just want to have a clear start and a clean start, sorry. Get the race done and collect every point that's possible. And that is so important in this hard championship here.
Any contenders you're particularly worried about?
Not really. I think we try to get everyone so everybody is on the same level and needs to be afraid of us.
Good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just 50 other cars to worry about. So behind our pace car, we have Amaury Bonduelle in the gold machine, then the Leipert Motorsport. Now that's been started by Sebastian Baltazar, car number 70, that blue and red livery. Row 2, Mattia Michelotto, that's the VSR car, Vincenzo Suspiri Racing. White car there with the tiny little blue and yellow highlights, and behind him, Largim Ali, Target Racing, the black car with the lime green. Then the first of the Iron Lynx cars. Now there are 3 Iron Lynx cars in yellow, with the green mirrors and highlights, Pavel Lefterov, with the pink highlights, Jesse Samaniauto. That's a couple of cars back, a row back. And the first of the Oregon team cars, which are, as it comes past you, pink, yellow and green. The first of the Oregon cars in 6th place, that is Paul Levey, and he has got, change to the advertised notes, he has got yellow highlights on the car. No, green windscreen strip, that's what I was looking for. So he is still in the same livery. So everybody heading then into the pit lane as the cars find their way around. Where have they got to now? Oh, they're coming down through the Porsche curve, sweeping off the old road circuit that used to carry on out of the right-hand side of your shot onto this new section of track. Is probably not, it's slightly older, slightly less old than the Nouvelle Chicane at Monaco, but this was introduced in the 1980s. And they are now due to be lining up 2 by 2, not in line astern. So this is not going to be the tightest of starts. And actually, for the guys on the front row, Amaury Bonduelle and Sebastian Baltazar, the less connected to them the rest of the field is, the better they're going to like it.
But Alain Adom is very keen on his rolling starts, and he's in his briefing, so he'll get the safety car, the pace car as it is, to slow right down. Here they are, there's the bunching going on. The Lamborghini Urus crew saying, right, slow, we want you to bunch up. The stragglers at the back will get into place. Just 2 more for our 24-hour drivers into Super Trofeo list. Egor Orodchev and Nigel Bailly. They are the other 2 that we missed.
Yeah, there we go.
And we've got 45 minutes and a bit before we can come up with any more. But they're heading down towards the last chicane. That grid is starting to form. You forget, actually, just how much real estate there is from the Porsche curves to the end of the lap. You kind of get tricked into thinking, right, they're at the end, but there's still quite a bit. And this is a double chicane anyway, in a sense. Right, left, right, left. Sorry, left, right, left, right. But now they have to wriggle their way through this and then onto the pit straight. And then the 5th race of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, Martin, will be underway.
Amaury Bonduelle leads the field in the gold car from Sebastian Balthazar. It will be a long hold for the green lights. They're pacing themselves nicely, and away they go. We are underway for race 5, the 200th Lamborghini Super Trofeo race. Back where it all started, here at the Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans. The first 8 cars, all in the Pro class. Pro-Am points leader, I beg your pardon, pole sitter is Dimitri Onjalbert, and running out wide immediately, Largim Ali. Not the only one to go across the curb, there will be loads. There's a spinner in there somewhere as well. Exiting stage right.
Everybody's avoided him, but there is a stranded car then coming through the Dunlop S's. And Amaury Bonduelle has made good his escape, hasn't he, by a couple of lengths already then, as they head towards Terre Rouge for the first time. Sebastian Balthazar going after him. Mathieu Michelotto runs 3rd. Largim Ali is in 4th. And onto the Mulsanne straight they will come in a moment. There's still a yellow flag then at the S's as the stranded car in question tries to get going. And who is it that's tumbling down the order? Well, there's the answer.
That's
Damage
not
on
going
number
any
50.
further, is it?
Ricardo Ianiello at the wheel of it. So that, I'm afraid, is pretty much out of the race. Rodrigo Testa would have been the 2nd driver, but that looks like there's enough damage to render that out of the race. Bonduelle, in the meantime, leads, and he's a 2nd to the good already.
And the first, the Iron Lynx cars. Pavel Lefterov down the inside, or round the outside rather, for 4th place. Up to 6th position from the start, up to 8th place from the start rather, is Dimitri Onjalbert, our Pro-Am leader, blue car with white patches on it. So he's jumped up 2 places from the start of the race. And Ricardo Ianiello off 18th on the grid, already out of action. If the car makes it round to the pits, I'll be astonished. I think he probably won't make it to Terre Rouge.
And Onjalbert, you were touching on, is going to be a man to watch because he is a very experienced, very quick GT racer who dips in and out of this when people want him to drive, but he's got the slower co-driver, so he's trying to hustle on and build up that gap in the first stint.
There he is in the bright blue car, just going out of shot. So that's your Pro-Am leader. The Am class pole sitter was Julien Piguet in the number 63 Auto Vitesse car, and that is just a little bit further back. It's a black car with red and blue Red Bull on it, so easy to spot side on.
But I think Stéphane Lemeret has taken the lead of that class, has he not? As the cars come.
Yes, he has.
Mulsanne corner, so and a slow zone is going to be established at Marshall's Post 1. So there's another car that has been involved in that. Julien Piguet has gone missing. That's why. So Piguet has gone.
You're right. Yeah.
And also Piero Parolini has not come through the first sector. So another couple of cars embroiled in that. Big dive here. Look, coming down towards Mulsanne corner, 66. Pier Giacomo Randazzo just at the head of that little queue. But look, Bonduelle is getting away, and at the start of the 2nd lap, he will enter a slow zone. Of course, we're not having these slow zones given the length of the lap, rather than putting out a virtual safety car or a real safety car to slow the pace.
So 2 of them, one at the Dunlop curve. Oh, and in the gravel, that's one of the Iron Lynx cars.
Right, well,
there's the Red Bull car, so there's that one gone.
That's another Le Mans starter, Julien Piguet, in his history, but you can see the broken rear suspension, so he's obviously had contact in that. And 42 is your one in the gravel, Martin. That is Jesse Salmonautio racing here for the first time. Salmonautio was very quick, you might recall, last year for the Mad Panda team in GT World Challenge endurance event. Very good esports racer. He may have got there with a bit of help, of course.
Yeah, Giorgio Marti not going to get a race in this one, so they're going to have to try and recover in race 2. Stéphane Lemay now moving up to 16th place from where he was, 20th on the grid, the Am class leader.
But Bonduelle has done a ripper job on this opening lap, hasn't he? Because he's out on his own.
This is effectively sort of 3 laps of Spa or 3 laps of Imola gap already, because that's the distance, and he has done a great job. And into the pit lane comes the Iron Lynx car, Pavel Lefterov. So did he have contact in the first either at turn 1 or down there at Indianapolis, I wonder?
He was running in that leading group, wasn't he? He wasn't sort of dropping away, wasn't suggesting there was a problem. So at the end of the first lap, we've had almost 5 minutes of the race.
Yellow's briefly being waved here at the second part of the Ford chicane as well, but they've been pulled back in, and we're down to the slow zone.
Yeah, I think that was the warning, wasn't it? That the slow zone's up the road. So everybody does slow to varying degrees. Some get the message and some don't, and there's an overlap. So it doesn't matter how often the race director briefs people, sometimes the message doesn't get through. Right, let's try and piece it all together. Look, there is Piquet getting involved. He gets turned around, and that's damaged the suspension and
took the door off the car as well. So, yeah.
Iannella got going again with his damage, but Piquet out of the race. As we are in this slow zone, we can head to the pit lane once more, because Charlie Martin, the British driver from the Lamborghini Cup class of the championship, is ready to talk to Dakota.
Charlie, 3rd in the Lamborghini Cup Championship. These points are critical this weekend. I know you're about to jump in the car, so just quickly, what are your thoughts going through your mind just before you jump in?
Well, Jason did a really good job in quali yesterday, considering, you know, we had so few laps. He did a really good performance, so I think hopefully he can hold his place in the grid at the moment and give me a good shot when I jump in to push and fight for a podium position.
Are you ready? You seem a bit nervous.
I'm always a bit nervous, but once you get in the car, the nerves go, and you just, you know, the helmet goes on and you click into autopilot. So yeah, I just want to get out there and drive.
Good luck. I'll let you get ready.
Well, Charlie Martin, winner of the torrentially wet first race in Imola. That was self-induced, wasn't it? That was looping around under braking. Oh dear.
Yeah, Charlie Martin, just going back a conversation, has made no bones about the fact that the desire is to race here in the 24 hours, and this is very useful experience of the circuit. Now, the cars are back on the Mulsanne. They're out of that slow zone, so it's not like the whole lap is affected. It's only that one segment of the lap down to the first chicane.
Dimitri Jalbert in the pale blue car up to 4th place now. He's got ahead of the Oregon car of Paul Levet. And there is the 2nd place car coming down towards us, the black car with the green highlights, Leipert Motorsports, Sebastian Balthazar, 97 in the pit lane. We saw that car had a problem earlier, and that is Giuseppe Guerrieri. Pavel Lefterov has not left the pit lane either in that Iron Lynx car that ducked in from 4th or 5th place.
Pavel not left her off, is what you mean?
No, indeed. Yeah, Pavel's stuck where he was off.
Indeed so.
So we're down to 1 yellow Iron Lynx car. That didn't take long, did it? They've got a very strong finishing result so far. Edgar Malwan, you just saw picking up a spot in that car. He's now moved up to what is 11th place and 8th in the pro category. But our Pro-Am class leader, rather, Dimitri Jalbert in the pale car is going very strongly.
Yeah, chased by Milos Pavlovic and then Andrea Frassinelli within Pro-Am, and Stefan Lemmerer using all of his knowledge to good effect is the leading Am in 16th overall. Another slow zone here, so Amaury Bonduelle getting frustrated, but he's still in the lead, and he is still the one that's controlling all of this.
Interestingly, the gap's gone down from 2.6 to 1.4 seconds, so either Amaury Bonduelle is being more conservative and making sure he doesn't speed into the slow zones, and Sebastian Balthazar is being very aggressive and carrying the speed as late as he dares up to the beginning of the slow zone. But the end effect is that what was a sizable margin between the two, that's not 1.4 seconds now, that's more like half a second. So the leader, Amaury Bonduelle, in theory, the slow zone shouldn't affect the race. You should all go in the same, come out the same distance apart as you went in, but it's how you get onto the throttle at the green and how late you dare slow down when you get to that yellow zone.
That's Salman Autio out of the gravel, so he's a lap down, but he's back and circulating. Bonduelle just thinking championship, the lead car, the gold car in the lead of the race that you can see from the BDR competition by Grupo Prom. He desperately needs to win this race because tomorrow he has a grid drop of 5 places, so his grid position is going to be compromised. If he's going to be able to bank points, this is the race in which he'll do it.
Absolutely. The only thing, of course, is as ever, avoid any silly penalties. So
Yes.
he's been concerned. He knows he's got the pace in the car. I mean, we've seen that in Imola. We saw it in Spa as well. In any conditions, he's got the pace to just disappear. And none of his rivals so far seem to have been able to match that. So he knows, here we go, we've gone green out of Arnage, and immediately, boom, drops the hammer and away he goes. And there was very little between the two of them. It was, at the last segment, shown as 1.1 seconds, but I'm not sure it was even that much. And again, look at Dimitri Jalbert, he's a very aggressive restarter.
But he's already being given a warning flag for 3 track limit offences. Well, we haven't had 2 laps yet, so he's racked them up. You're absolutely right about being aggressive. Dimitri Jalbert, very experienced driver, from Morgan GT3s to the Renault 1 make ranks, as well as Lamborghini. That car moving around the road a lot as he hustles on to try to build the gap in the class before he hands it over to Anthony Nara for the second stint, and he will stay out for as much of that 10-minute pit window as he can, obviously to maximise the quicker driver's pace.
Absolutely correct. And again, he will be praying that, as you said earlier, that there is no safety car to shorten, because you have to come in if there's a safety car, because everybody else will. And you want the faster driver into the last possible moment and the slower driver in for as little time as possible, which seems rather harsh considering they're probably paying all the bills. But, you know, that's the way, that's the way it is. You hire a quick pro to help you win the race, and Jalbert will definitely be trying to do that. There's your race leader, there's your points leader, there's your pole sitter, Amaury Bonduelle, and already the gap out, well, at the beginning of the lap to 1.6 seconds, and again, I'd say that's getting on for 1.8, 1.9 now, with Mattia Michelotto in third, again, dropping back from Sebastian Balthazar in second.
And your leading 4 drivers, Bonduelle, Balthazar, Michelotto, Ali, all drove in this championship last year, so they're well versed in the cars. The man in 5th place currently is Simon Gachet, a driver familiar for those of you that follow GT World Challenge Europe or French GT, but normally you find him in an Audi. I know it's the same parent company, but something different for him this weekend as Jalbert comes then towards us, still busy battling. He's got a whole train of cars queued up behind him, and now a warning flag is going to Mattia Michelotto, former Italian GT star. He is running in 3rd place, but track limit offences to him. Jalbert, however, is on a mission, isn't he? He wants to get that as high up the order as he can before he runs out of time.
Yeah, Mattia Michelotto was expected to be, he and Oliver Sud, he and his teammate Stadsbader were expected to be front runners, but Gilles Stadsbader is not here this weekend, which is a little bit of a surprise. They had a dreadful time in Imola, very little better in Spa. Sort of suspect that Gilles Stadsbader has kind of gone, okay, this isn't happening really, I'm going to concentrate on something else. And
he struggled a bit last year. He did a full season last year, did Stadsbader, and was never quite as quick. He wasn't awfully slow, but he wasn't as quick. Maybe he's had a change of heart and another think about life. 57 gains ground there. That is Egor Oronshev coming up on the inside line, down towards the second of the chicanes, goes through, gains a place, and we've only got 33 minutes of the race to go. The pit window ain't that far away.
No, it really isn't. And the deal with Oronshev, as we see a little bit of miscue, and again, these are going to be very common indeed in the chicane. The deal with Oronshev is he's raced here before, and so he knows the track, whereas most of these drivers are still trying to learn it in the middle of the race.
The car you saw off the road at the Ford chicane was that of Petr Matic, the Serbian driver, who is the lead. Sorry, he's had one win, I should say, within the Lamborghini Cup. Again, he's returned to the championship after a year away. Go back a couple of seasons, and he was racing with and coached by Milos Pavlovic. So lessons learnt. Sebastian Balthazar, by the way, in second place, has done the fastest lap of the race, or the faster lap, because they've done 2. But he is 1.8 seconds back from Amaury Bonduelle. Balthazar, of course, will have a co-driver in Jakob Riegel, whereas Bonduelle's car can run at the same pace race long, because he will stay in it.
In fact, that little incident, as you said, with Petr Matic there, he's in the Lamborghini Cup. That was an incident with Holger Harmsen, also a Lamborghini Cup driver. The GT3 Polo driver started last on the grid, whereas Matic started 32nd. So 19 places between them at the start, and Holger Harmsen has now gone by, so made up that ground and more.
And Harmsen is another stalwart Lamborghini Cup racer. He leads the class in the championship, and he may not know the circuit, but he certainly knows the car inside out. So Holger Harmsen, who absolutely loves his Lamborghini racing, and goes well in the Lamborghini Cup, could well be on for a title this year. For many, many years, it was the domain of Gerard van der Horst, who ran cars and won races, won championships. He's gone off to race in other things. More drama down at Mulsanne Corner.
Yeah.
The gravel trap, arms outstretched, welcomes in John Seal, the British septuagenarian, back on track. Somebody else is in strife. That, by the look of it, is Orodchev, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Egor Orodchev, and he comes right back on in front of the second Oregon car of Leonardo Caglioni.
And this could get even more fractures coming down on the chicane, because off the road goes the Oregon entry.
Yeah.
Others skip over the curb. Orodchev there, yes, that was resolute defence.
Well, Edgar Malouin in that yellow car, the Iron Lynx car, that was the car we just saw in replay, smoking off at the Mulsanne Corner half a lap ago. So we're catching up on stuff that happened half a lap ago. And, oh, goodness me.
That's Orodchev going around, and he gets it back in the right direction.
A fraction more speed in than the car was happy with. That's a monster moment.
And then there's absolutely nowhere for the traffic to go but off the racetrack in avoidance. But that is not what you need coming across a car finishing its spin. Bonduelle in the meantime, with 30 minutes of the 45 to go, therefore a couple of minutes off the pit window, is stretching the gap again. It's up to 2.7 seconds.
Yeah, again, just drops the hammer and away he goes. Sebastian Baltazar, the blue car with the red highlights, in second. Mattia Michelotto in the Vincenzo Sospiri racing car, white with the little blue and yellow highlights. He remains in third. And it's them, because they're really pulling away from Largim Ali. And Largim Ali in fourth place, the black car at the back of the shot, he was the one of those, so there you go, with the green highlights. He was the one of those two that Oliver Söderström said had more time on track. Don't do that. In the Porsche curve, down in the S's rather, a big lunge.
Shota Abkazova's car is the one that's been turned around and got a puncture look. So the Artline driver, who's had a Lamborghini Cup win already this year, great motorsport impresario. He owns circuits, he runs championships, he races cars, he has his own team. What else has he done? You name it, within the governance of sport in the region, he has done it, and he's been on track at the same time. And he's a great character, Shota Abkazova, but sad to say, that's his race done. So that gives us another yellow flag and potentially another slow zone.
Yep. Well, this little battle here, car number 15, the one of the multiple black and white Viorba Corsa cars, that's Benedetto Strignano, under pressure from Joachim Galasch, and that is for the final point in the pro class, because no, it's not. The points go down to 15th, don't they? So that is the battle for 10th in pro.
But talking pro, Jerzy Spinkovic in number 25, the unique racing entry, is on his last warning for track limit offences. So as there, Shota Abkazova's car is off the road. I think we're clear. That's going nowhere, as we say, with that punctured tyre and damage to the suspension. Jerzy Spinkovic's ex-Clio racer needs to behave himself. Otherwise, race control are going to lose what is left of its collective rag.
Yes, Alain Adam has given sort of final public warnings to half a dozen cars at the moment. But they're being notified, or we're being notified, of their third offence of track limits. Now, given that they're probably going to get... what are they going to get, 9 or 10 laps here? That's one every 3 laps. I mean, you could easily run off 3 times in one chicane here without too much trouble. Amaury Bonduelle, though, is keeping it neat and clean between the lines. Gap now out to 3 seconds and growing over Sebastian Baltazar and this man, Mattia Michelotto, a further 1 point something, 3 or 4 seconds back.
Michelotto is another soloist, so he ideally would like something to happen to bunch up the field. But of course, a safety car with the length of the lap is very, very unlikely. So he's going to have to do this on pure pace. So I hope the Bonduelle gets caught up in traffic, which after the pit stops could happen.
Safety car, it's extraordinarily unlikely here. It is more likely to go red. If they need something of that major intervention in such a short race, it's more likely to go red. But hopefully the local slow zones have worked very effectively so far and will continue to do so.
Pit window is open, so now we'll see whether there are any early takers. I would suspect not, certainly of the double driver entries, because if you've got your quick driver in first, you'll want to maximise him. The only reason, if you're a soloist, for coming in now, really, is if you're stuck in traffic and it gets the stop out of the way and it might buy you some clear air.
Well, we might see, for instance, in the Lamborghini Cup, the car that's currently 6th, the Brutal Fish racing entry of Jason Keats might be coming in soon to hand over to Charlie Martin, the quicker of the 2 drivers in that car. And in fact, you can see there are a couple, Caglioni, Sprinkovitz and Antonell, already in the pit lane. So presumably, in each case, with faster drivers. I mean, as you say, as a solo driver, if you go in now, you're going to come out, but you will catch traffic if you're going from the front of the field. Whereas if you stay out longer, there is going to be a more spread field because everybody else will have done their pit stops, and that inevitably spreads people out a little. Plenty of Nissan rivalry going on here, 31 and 69, and that is 31. Hampus Eriksson just getting back ahead of Marco Gasega. And there, your pit window open. Vincenzo Sospiro Racing Team bringing the cars in as required.
Now, who's that that's gone
that's
around? Cyril Satellite.
Yes, I think so, 26.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a yellow flag up at the Dunlop S's. The rest of the cars now that are serving these mandatory pit stops. And there's another one in trouble. That is Satellite, yes, the double livery car. White on one side, blue on the other. Who's got going, so that's good. That means the yellows can be withdrawn. Remember, 98 seconds on the stopwatch for the two driver teams, 101 for the soloists, and that in replay is the end of the spin as Satellite goes backwards off the curb, gets out of everybody's way. Busy in the pit lane, Martin.
Yeah, just saw a pit stop at Lippert for the 88 car. That's an interesting new entry. Jiachong Liang Alex from China and Stanislav Minskli, who is racing under Cypriot license. So all sorts of different nationalities. There's another one to be added to the tick box. Peter Matic handing over to Paolo Bilieri in ASR, the 32 car you just saw there in the pits. So we've got, what, a dozen cars pitted now, and we still have 28 who have yet to make their stops. It is a mandatory stop, whether you're driving on your own or with a partner. You must stop and remain stationary for the mandated minimum. It's not a maximum, it's a minimum time stationary.
And if you're under, then it is multiplied by what you are under the time limit for and added post-race as a penalty. Going back to that car you were talking about of Paolo Bilieri and Petra Matic, winners last time out after a pattern. Third at Imola, then they had a second in the first race at Spa, and then a win. So a 3-2 and a 1. It can kind of only go downhill from here, you could argue. But let's see, because Paolo Bilieri very quick. Petra Matic is faster than he was 2 years ago when he came into the series, having done a little bit of Creventic 24-hour series racing. And all of this continuing to shuffle the order, of course, as you see there, under attack 27, which is Stéphane Lemeret. He will give way to Rodrigue Gillion, another of the Belgian drivers. And he's under huge attack coming up towards Arnage. Crawling all over the back of him there, Jean-Baptiste Mela, ex-French GT racer in the Schumacher CLRT, Comme Racing Team entry.
And another new driver to the championship this season, female driver Lola Lovinfoss will take over that car.
And the gravel at Indianapolis beckons for the
okay.
VSR entry, but he got away with that.
Yep. That was the Antonio Felix da Costa moment, bouncing the car off the exit curbs, although the trench in the gravel that is gradually dug during the 24 hours has yet to appear. There's the all-Belgian livery, Stéphane Lemeret in the 27 car, and again, look, battle between full position, but between two different classes. The green highlights there on the number, that's the AM class, orange for the Pro class. So it's not a battle for class honours, but for position. Second and third are in.
Yeah, so Lagim Ali inherits second place now. Bonduel has yet to stop in the lead. Ali second, yet to stop, but pretty much now everybody else. Simon Gachet stays out because he will give way to the slower Simon Thierman. And
Dimitri Jalbert
stays out as well.
Yeah. Lagim Ali, by the way, on a final warning for track limits, and he's yet to hand the car over. Now, I'm assuming that it is per driver rather than per car that the tot-up happens. Otherwise, you hand the car over to your teammate going, right, if you go wide, mate, you're in for a drive-through. That doesn't seem like it's entirely fair to me.
Big squeal of tyres coming out of Joachim Gallas's Michenek Motorsport powered by Boghera entry. 33 pits for Milos Pavlovic to give way to Alessio Ruffini. And there, 43 is in, which means that Edgar Marouin will give way to Georgi Dimitrov now.
Yeah, Georgi Dimitrov, racing under a British licence. Edgar Marouin, a very experienced French driver. Looking a little further down the order, still some battles for position, and what are we? We've got 10 cars that have yet to stop, 8 altogether, and then 2 way down in the depths of field. Cyril Saleh and Serge Doms racing on his own team.
And you've just seen the family pit stop. Andrei Lewandowski hands over to son Adrian, who In previous seasons, they've either driven as soloists or shared cars with different people, but Dad and Lad have teamed up for this year. Both are quick, and as I said early on, he's completed his stint now, but Andrei Lewandowski, very, very good indeed. That's the leader with the puncture. Bonduelle, the race leader, has got a flat, and he's trying to limp that back, but you can see rubber flailing, bodywork being ripped. That is race over.
Well, now then, that's a real disaster for Amaury Bonduelle. And here comes Target Racing's Largim Ali. Bonduelle is desperate to try and get it back without losing more time than is necessary, but it's, yeah, a massive debris field.
He's going too quickly, and he can barely control the car. The tyre has fallen apart around him. He's ruining the bodywork. I understand the desperation, but he's bringing it back too quickly.
Yep. That was in the second chicane. He's only just got to Mulsanne corner, so he's got about another 7 kilometres still to, 8 kilometres probably still to go. And I think he is pulling off at the side of the road.
He's got to, because the car's going to be in no fit state to continue anyway if he does bring it in, and he might well have another accident at this rate.
Even if it were perfect, he'll have lost so much time that finishing in the top 15 is unlikely. So the race, or the championship leader with 3 race wins from 4 starts, that's the slow-mo coming down from the second chicane, or into the second chicane. We talked about keeping it off the curbs.
He does the right thing by going straight on and not trying to make the corner, but it's a very fast part of the racetrack for that to happen. It's a scary moment, and Bonduelle has parked it, and that having dominated the first stint, he's out of the race.
Well, having dominated the championship so far, the only race he didn't win was because it was red flagged because of the tempest that swept through Imola on day 1 of the championship, and he was the leader before the safety car pit stops, and then there was a safety car queue, and then they red flagged it, so he had no chance to try and recover that. But still, he's had the pace from the beginning of the first qualifying session this year to show to everybody else. That's just really tough luck.
So all of that debris is now on the road between Marshall's posts 16 to 18. The track is a bit like a battlefield, and that is going to make life difficult for the opposition, the survivors, if you like, to try and thread their way through it. And it may be now that we've got other people in strife, because they'll be running over big chunks of rubber, but more worryingly, bits of bodywork. You saw when the tyre went, the explosion of bodywork around that corner of the car that came out, and some of that bodywork, sharp metal, will be on the track as well.
Well, and actually slightly more of a worry is what happens to carbon composite panels. They break up and they turn into sharp needles. It's like the old cartoon of tin tacks being thrown on the road, and it is those shards of carbon composite that are most likely to damage the tyre. Now, hopefully everybody will get in and won't have those problems. You can see Largim Ali, Simon Gachet, Dimitri Jalbert, everybody who was still out coming in. And the only one who will not make a pit stop in the race will be Amaury Bonduelle, because he does not make it back to the pits.
And another one that's slow on track from the Lamborghini Cup is the Donovan and Luciano Privitello entry. And is that it?
We see huge bit of Bonduelle car being flung up in the air. Driver coming out of the chicane over the brow unsighted, and probably lucky to square it off over the top. Boots and VDS number 2 car at a halt. And this is Renault Coupens and Rui Mayhaus's car.
Yeah, Rui Mayhaus will give way, the GT4 European Series champion of 2 years ago, and the very experienced Renault Coupens will take over. And that is the Privitello family car. Now, had that made a pit stop, well, it kind of doesn't really matter because it is out of the race. As you can see, it had pitted, Donovan started, and Dad Luciano has taken it over. And this is the car now that was second early on, Sebastian Balthazar.
Yep. Should be our de facto race leader. Well, he's ahead of Mattia Michelotto. So, in fact, of course, he is ahead of Mattia Michelotto. But yeah, Jakob Riegel is now we're going to have to reset our brains, aren't we? But that is the lead battle now. So Jakob Riegel, Michele Michelotto, Oliver Söderström has taken over from Largim Ali in 3rd place.
But interestingly, that gap is much reduced compared to what it was before the pit stop. So yes, we have had that driver change, but Jakob Riegel, less experience, is being caught. Another one is headed for the gravel, and that is Benedetto Strignano, who sets off by going through the gravel at the Ford chicane. How did he get there? Like this.
Yep, usual way, clipping the sausage curb on the inside. Now, he's lucky that it didn't take the floor out of the car. He would have done if he'd straddled it. And the base of his spine would have known all about that as well. Heading down into the first of our slow zones. And it's effectively a slow zone all the way down to the first chicane, as you can see from the S's just before Tertre Rouge. And that's to protect the workers in the chicane, because what you don't want is people coming down there at 190 miles an hour and getting it wrong, or having a failure when there are marshals in the chicane doing clear-up operations. So you extend the slow zone way back, and drivers will only be doing 80 Ks. The rest of the track remains green. And for those that have never raced here before, that's a little bit awkward to get your head around, where you go yellow, but then you're not yellow for the whole lap, because normally a full course yellow is exactly that. Here we don't have that.
But it's a great idea, and I know it would only work on a long lap like this, or the Nürburgring Nordschleife, for example. You know, you could never do it at Knock Hill, say, but it is a great idea without having to keep neutralising the race, because this has been a race full of drama, full of incident, as Jakob Riegel then is now just 1.8 seconds ahead of Mattia Michelotto, who has been in that car since the start, so he is absolutely confident in what it is like. And now, look, they've got to thread their way past that Hankook rubber coming into the chicane.
Well, luckily, most of it is now offline, because it's been blown offline by cars going by. But don't forget that Mattia Michelotto, in this yellow, white and blue car, had a longer pit stop as well by 3 seconds than the Leipert Motorsport car in front, and yet the gap has still come down. So last lap, well, that's not going to tell us much. 5 minutes 26.1, 5 minutes 26.4, so 0.3 of a second longer on the lap for Mattia Michelotto, but it was the lap before, the in-lap and the pit stop lap, that has made the difference, and he is closing the margin still. He was a little quicker, in fact, he was half a second quicker just in the first sector of this lap alone.
And there is the story of the race. The two cars fighting for the lead pass a dejected Henri Bonduel, his car, by the side of the road. Interestingly, though, the more experienced Michelotto is not hammering up onto the back of Jakob Riegel, is it? The gap is down, yes, but Riegel, and he's got a puncture as well. Another one out of the race lead with a puncture. And it's the same corner, look, the left rear just explodes. Forget the rest of that sentence about him measuring the gap, because Jakob Riegel's car is in real strife, and another tyre has gone bang.
Wow. Well, now, immediately Mattia Michelotto, you're going, oh my goodness, I'm leading the race. Oh my goodness, right, I need to slow down now. And actually, he really can, because Mattia Michelotto is ahead of Oliver Söderström by nearly, no, he's not. Oh no, sorry, that's Riegel. By nearly 40 seconds. So Michelotto can afford to have a massive back off. And again, Jakob Riegel trying to get the car back. I mean, that's every racing driver's instinct. But, you know, this is effectively at least 3 laps of anywhere else. You're not making it back at that speed. Look, it's ripped the bodywork apart. You can see the cooling system's been partly torn off there as well. So it'll be lit up like a Christmas tree in the cockpit.
And the only people that are really pleased about this, other than Mattia Michelotto, whose lead has stretched, are the Lamborghini Squadron Corsa parts department with their support truck here, who have got the invoices ready. They're in for a busy afternoon. But the circuit now is absolutely littered, as you can see, with rubber, with bits of bodywork. We've still got 13 minutes of the race to go. There's still yet more drama in the system, I'm sure of it.
Well, that will be at least 3 laps, and depending on when the leader gets the line, possibly a 4th. So we'll get to, so leaders just crossed the line after 7 laps. I think we might have another 4 laps.
So that's the replay of Riegel. You saw the car just start to go slightly sideways as the pressure's changed. And, well, you've seen the rest of it in that sentence. Everything flies. Everything just is exploding across the racetrack. Big send on the inside there. And is there going to be contact? No. 16 losing out. Ignazio Zanon, he has to give way to the Oregon car.
Yeah, Enzo Girazzi throwing it up the inside. And that was the replay we saw a lap or so ago of the number 15 car finding its way into, and then again, happily spinning out of the gravel. But yeah, there's the reaction of the Leipert Motorsport team. They're watching the big screen down in the pit lane, and they saw the tyre let go just like everybody else. 54 Brutal Fishes, Charlie Martin starting to work her way up the order. Picks up another spot, and she is now up towards 4th place in Lamborghini Cup. Let's get down to Dakota in the pits.
Oliver, now we've just seen your teammate have a huge blowout. How are you feeling about that? I mean, it's got to annoy you seeing that kind of thing when you're in first position.
I'm really, really angry because we had the chance to win now, and couldn't say a lot more to this. We had a really good first stint. I saved the tires, and it's a really shame. Don't know what to say.
Do you think that the tire management is due to hitting the curbs really hard?
I don't think it has a conclusion with this, because I really looked for the tire, didn't went over the curbs, saved it a lot. So I think it's just the circumstance, you have luck or not, and yeah. It happened to one driver, to the other not. We didn't have the problem the full weekend. We have it now. In the worst moment we can have it, and that's it. We need to find anything to solve this for the second race, because the driver cannot have involved in this, and this is a real problem.
But when you were in the car felt completely fine.
Yeah, fully. I managed the tires well. I went in P2, then went on P1, and then this happened. So nothing with the tires, didn't have any vibration, nothing.
I mean, unfortunately, it's very unfortunate, but tomorrow's a new day, and you're in a good position to start tomorrow's race, so anything can happen. Let's see about tomorrow.
Go over it now first. Thank you.
Good luck.
We just saw a very busy Alan Adam on the walkie-talkie in race control. Karim Oj, that looked like a tyre let go in the Porsche curves and threw him off the road.
We just better clarify as well that that was not Oliver Söderström you were hearing from, because he's in the car that leads the race. That was Sebastian Balthazar talking about what had happened to his car, and understandably pretty cross about it, but Oliver Söderström most definitely was not. He is on track leading by 1/10 of a second now from Mattia Michelotto. So he's put himself ahead.
Marco Giersager and Julian Han side by side. The Chinese driver looking to get a run going here, try and move up a spot. This is for the lead of the AM class.
It is indeed, with just under 10 minutes to go.
Now right ahead of them is Alessio Ruffini. Again, battle under brakes, swapping from outside to inside. Through goes the 69 car. Marco Giersager gets himself back in front.
And the same there as well. You've just seen 22, Mateusz Pawlicek, go through on the inside into the Mulsanne corner. Now here, we had a change for the race lead. Michelotto has indeed got himself up past Oliver Söderström. So he was a 10th back. He's picked his way through, just in the nick of time, you could argue, because he's into the next slow zone, going past yet more debris and another stricken car that had led the race. 9 more minutes to go. That is Karim Oj, who has made it back to the pit lane. But now Mattia Michelotto just needs to nurse this, because tyre preservation clearly is important.
Yeah, he really, really has to try and hang on, but the gap back down to Oliver Söderström, it was 40 seconds, it's now 1. So it's an enormous pressure now to try and somehow bring the car home without knowing whether or not the tyre is fatally injured already. Well, here's the Lamborghini Cup battle. Calabiglieri is the race leader from Holger Harmsen, and this is Charlie Martin in the purple car behind Hernandez Ortega, the Mexican driver, under real pressure still.
Into the slow zone, and look, Michelotto has slowed earlier than has Oliver Söderström, so that gap is down. I'm still convinced that Michelotto will be able to extend that. You could argue that Michelotto would like more slow zones, because he's still in the lead, nobody can overtake him within them, and while he's in a slow zone, he's taking less out of the tyres.
Well, and the other thing, of course, is that he's taking more out of the clock.
Indeed.
Because the more and the longer the slow zones go on, the fewer remaining race laps there are going to be within the time, because this is not a lap certain race, this is a time certain race. So yeah, you're right, the slow zones are protecting him a little at the moment, but again, you know, he must know that Oliver Söderström has really pushed hard to close that gap behind him when he's been trying to preserve his tyres. So is Söderström perhaps more vulnerable now? I mean, into
a slow zone, people get it wrong. Don't forget though, Michelotto has just jumped back ahead of Söderström, so he's got the pace to have caught him and passed him, and he'll pull away again. So I think he's okay. It's just whether he's looked after the rubber, whether he's keeping it off the curb. And of course, the more that we've seen of punctures, and the teams likewise, if they can get that message through to the driver, stay off curbs, they will. So here, look, heading into the slow zone, and look how Michelotto stands on everything. Söderström brakes much later, goes off the track almost in avoidance, but that's the downside of a slow zone. It couldn't come up unexpected.
Well, again, drivers have to make sure that they are down to 80 kilometres an hour by the beginning of the slow zone, that white line across the road. It's inherent on them to do so, and if they do not, the telemetry will tell the tale, as well as the trackside observers, and they will end up with penalties. We could see a lot of penalties for incorrect observance of slow zones by the end of the race.
The last lap, which had a slow zone in it, was 5 minutes and 10. We've got 6.5 minutes to go. I reckon the leaders will start their last lap this time.
Yes, I think you're right. Well, here's Charlie Martin again with the purple car, attacking hard, trying to make her way up the order.
But has then dropped time at the slow zone because Charlie responded better to the yellow flag than the cars ahead. And another spin. That is Alessio Ruffini off at turns 2 and 3. The Dunlop S's, no damage done, gets back on the track. How did he get there? Was it on his own? No, bit of contact, I think, from the cars behind. It was a Lippert one breathing down his neck, wasn't it, for Anthony McIntosh, number 99, the American driver. And there may well have been just a little touch between the two, but it causes cars to scatter left and right in avoidance.
Yeah, the American duo were not in Spa. They raced in Imola, but neither were able to make it to the rounds at Spa. So this is only their second outing in Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe this season. The race leader then, Mattia Michelotto, driving tutto solo for the first time this season, because he, as we documented, he has been part of a duo in the Pro-Am category, or Pro category this season. Now driving solo, so this is an all-pro battle. Top 6 are in Pro. Our Pro-Am lead battle, Anthony Nara and Ignacio Zanon, they are just about 3 seconds apart, 7th and 8th on the road.
And is this the replay of what happened to Karim
this is
Ogier?
Karim.
Was there a bit of contact? No, there wasn't.
No,
it was Karim going off.
Something let go there. Drivers do not turn hard left there. And that was not the beginning of a slow zone either, not at that stage anyway.
It was the beginning in a sense.
Yeah, he created it, but
yeah,
you can see the cars bouncing around. There was a suspension breakage on the right rear. Yeah.
And if it wasn't that caused it, it most certainly was after he hit the wall. Double yellow flag now, Marshall's post 16.
And you can see the tyre is still sound, so actually it was a component failure and not a tyre issue.
Stefan Guerin has been off the road, but he's back on again.
Hasn't he, though? Yes. Picking up speed. That's not the normal speed of a Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
Right, 4 minutes and change on the clock. And that point you were making about Mattia Michelotto going solo, it's definitely working because he's on for his first podium of the year, never mind his first win. Around spins number 3 of Adrian Lewandowski, and others joined the party, really.
And again, that was the Glenn McGee Anthony McIntosh Lippert Motorsport car that was the cue ball in all of that.
And the race leader is about to start that last lap. So for VSR, Vincenzo Sospiri Racing, here comes Mattia Michelotto, those familiar VSR colours that you see in Super Trofeo, in GT3 racing, whether it's national in Italy or World Challenge Europe. On to the final lap goes Mattia Michelotto, a race full of drama, but with 4 minutes to a lap, ain't done yet.
And I don't know who's got what crossed, but I bet everybody in all the teams has got everything crossed, because we've seen drama for race leaders and other cars as well, and there's by no means guaranteed that nothing else is going to happen. So Michelotto and Söderström are the top 2 in the Pro class, the top 2 in Pro-Am. You can see Nara and Zanon, 7th and 8th. Our Am leader, that's in 18th place. Car number 69, that's Marco Gersaka, and he's just ahead of Hulin Han by 4 or 5 seconds now, actually. But the 2 Oregon cars swapping paints, Laszlo Todt and Enzo Gerazzi. Gerazzi in 61 and Todt in 34.
Yeah, Gerazzi going ahead and pulling away from the polyglot, Laszlo Todt, as they come towards the Mulsanne for the final time. Lead gap has gone up to 2.7 seconds, and in the Lamborghini Cup, it remains Paolo Milieri who is in charge there, having taken over from Petronas, even though they've not had a totally clear run.
This is Georgi Dimitrov in the Iron Lynx car, making a move around the outside of Laszlo Todt for 5th place, well judged into the chicane. Again, first time racing here for both of these drivers, so they're really learning these chicanes well.
Toth was a pretty handy Formula Renault and Formula 3 racer, so I'm surprised that he's losing places like this. it's a little bit disappointing that he's lost 2 on this last lap, unless there's something we don't know about within the car.
I was wondering whether he's starting to feel a little bit that... And again, this is, you know, last lap at Le Mans, imagining noises, imagining things that might be happening to your car. Just behind them, you can see the bright blue Pegasus racing car of Anthony Nara. Ignacio Sanon only 1.4 seconds behind on the final lap for the Pro-Am lead. And in the final class, Paolo Birrieri leading from Holger Harmsen, who started last on the grid by 2.2 seconds. So that might change on the final lap as well in Lamborghini Cup class. But here comes the Iron Lynx car once more. This is Georgi Dimitrov on Enzo Girazzi in the Neapolitan-coloured Oregon car. And Il Pirato, oh, they're all Il Piratos at Oregon. Georgi Dimitrov. He is definitely the man on the move here, isn't he?
He is indeed. Others are still having their travails, including Holger Harmsen then, who is the Lamborghini Cup Championship star.
That's because I was just building him up as a potential class winner. He's actually dropped 4 places with that spin. That's how close it is!
Big loose from Galacci, and around he goes, and he's in the gravel. Go on, hook a gear, dig it out the other side. He will do, he'll get it going, but that was a terrifying moment. Really high-speed part of the circuit heading towards Indianapolis. Big Code Brown moment for Galacci, but for Mattia Michelotto, a first podium, a first win of the season is imminent as he comes through the Porsche curves, and this has been a very, very impressive drive.
He might need to slow down a little. 25 seconds on the clock. He does not want to get to the line first. He'll be fine, mutters David. He's going to have to... Oh, OK, so who's got a 5-second time penalty? Oliver Söderström in second, and that will drop him out of second place and down... No, it won't.
No, keep him there. He's OK. He's got 8 seconds in hand over Simon Thurm and Simon Gachet.
Yes, he has.
So the clock has hit 0. Told you he'd be fine. Michelotto for the win.
Michele Michelotto, well, what a we have not had a calm procession all year from the torrential storms of Imola to the chaos here of Race 1 at Le Mans. So here's Pegasus Racing's Anthony Nara. The car started so flamboyantly by Dimitri Jalbert, takes the Pro-Am win, and in fact, Ignacio, he got ahead of Enzo Girazzi, the Oregon car that spun so dramatically there at the end. Enzo Girazzi takes second for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. We saw the very happy face of Vincenzo Sospiri on the pit wall there. So they win in Pro, take second in Pro-Am. And how's the battle for the Am class? Marco Gersager is 5.4 seconds of Julian Hahn, but there's Gersager, made that pass on the penultimate lap, or ended the battle, let's say, on the penultimate lap. So he comes through as our Am class winner. And Egor Orudchev appears to have gone straight into the pit lane. Well, they're not pitting, or they are pitting in this pit lane, but they're not supposed to end up in the pit lane. However, Vincenzo Sospiri, been a long time since I've seen Vincenzo Sospiri in a racing car, but the competitive streak never ends.
I am down here in the pit lane with a very happy Vincenzo Sospiri. Vincenzo, first in Pro, second in Pro-Am, and third in Am. What a fantastic result for BSR.
It's an excellent result. The drivers have been very, very good, very quick all the weekend. Being first, P1, P2, and P3 in a different class, and especially P1 in overall, is very special at Le Mans. Everybody knows Le Mans is a special place, and it's always bet to be P1 here.
Now, you said you spent a lot of time preparing the cars, making sure they're right for the tracks and can also manage the tyres well. Looks like it's paid off today.
Yes, it did pay off. We did manage the car. We managed to save the tyres, to look after the tyres, because we knew there could be a problem for the tyres, and unfortunately for other drivers it happened. So we were a little bit slower, but we preserved the tyres, and this paid out a lot.
Congratulations, what a fantastic result for the team.
Thank you very much.
Grazie mille.
Vincenzo Sospiri, just to go back to what Martin was saying about it being a long time since you've seen him in a race car, he did it at the end of, 2019, I think, come and do the Walter Hayes Trophy at Silverstone in Formula Ford 1600s, the end of season tournament. You've got more drama on the last lap there, which accounted for Yun Song in one of the cars that got embroiled in that. But Mattia Michelotto then for VSR, that very understated colour scheme compared to, for example, the Oregon livery that you can always tell from a mile away. But perfect job done. And it's fascinating, isn't it, to see in these races whether a solo entry or a double driver entry works best. Well, when you've got the pace of Mattia Michelotto, it's definitely worth doing the race on your own. Despite that longer pit stop, he was able to overcome those extra 3 seconds and through for the race win. Anne-Marie Bonduel's sole consolation, really, fastest lap, but it should have been, could have been a whole different story.
Yeah, could have, should have. Doesn't win championships, unfortunately, and yeah, that's a tough blow for him and also for Leipert Motorsport. Well, definitely the teams and Hankook will talk again. I mean, there's only one thing as a tyre supplier that you do not want to have, and that is tyres failing in the championship. So they will look again at things like camber and of the cars and minimum tyre pressures that the teams are being told to run at to try and make sure that there are no repetitions tomorrow, and I'm sure they did after free practice and qualifying again. And once more, that advice, stay off the curbs. And that does not just go for the formation lap when the tyres are cold and the pressures aren't quite where they will be later in the race. Probably also goes for the duration of the race as well. In the words of the great Doc Hudson, keep it on the grey stuff, son, that's what it's there for.
And of course, no matter what the tyre manufacturer is, they will always tell the teams, run these pressures, we suggest this camber, and we're telling you this for a reason. And the teams often think, well, we know best, so actually what we'll do is tweak a little bit here, because that'll give us an advantage. And occasionally, as you've just seen, it bites. I was kind of expecting it might have been even more dramatic towards the end, but perhaps with those 2 violent punctures, the teams got on the radio and instructed drivers just to back it off a little bit, because you can understand why, can't you? Very high-speed circuit like this, and those failures that we saw were at the quick bits.
Mattia Michelotto claims victory over Oliver Söderström, Largim Ali, and then Simon Gachet and Simon Thurman finishing in 3rd place in the Pro class are Pro-Am winners. The 74 Pegasus Racing entry ahead of VSR's number 16, and 3rd in the class, Boots and VDS, the all-Belgian entry. Then GM Motorsport, car number 69, winning in Am from the number 66 Vincenzo Sospiri racing car, and 3rd Target Racing, the number 39. And in the Lamborghini Cup, ASR claiming victory with car number 32, Charlie Martin making it up to 2nd for Brutal Fish, and BDR competition in 3rd place, car number 77, Alfredo Hernandez Ortega, driving on his own. Holger Harmsen almost making it, victory from the final place on the grid, only to spin that away on the final lap. He finished 4th in the class. And the highest number of non-classified drivers. Karim Oj classified as a finisher, although his finish was in the pit lane 4 laps back. Jun Song Jia as well in the Vortex Racecraft 89 car, not making it not running at the finish, but had completed more than 75% of the race distance, so they will be classified. And actually, that means both will score points. But, yeah, there's the big story. Your championship leader in the Pro class, the man who has been the dominant force.
But look how much curb being taken at the chicane, one aspect of the lap, on one lap. Multiply that over the laps that Bonduel did, and suddenly you can start to understand why the tyres were having so much trouble.
Left rear is always the troubled tyre at Le Mans because it is a clockwise circuit, and the majority of the corners therefore are right-handers, and it has got those lots of serrated curves, and the gravel here is not as rounded and sort of P-shaped as in some other places. There's Karim Oj's car, and again, that not tyre related. There was still air in the tyre when he managed to limp the car back to the pit lane. It was a rear suspension collapse, and again, that alone, right rear corner, that shows how much pressure that side of the car is under, as well as the left-hand side, particularly here in the Porsche curves. I mean, this is the Porsche curves and Indianapolis, the right-hander at Indianapolis. They are the 2 biggest hang on and trust your aero parts of this entire circuit. So there's an awful lot of faith in the grip there.
Bronek Fomanek and Stefan Rossina, 2 experienced drivers both. They were 21st overall, 5th in Pro-Am. Super slow-mo shots of that car riding the curbs through the chicane.
Would that be the Czechs bouncing over the curbs there? The sound of tumbleweed.
That was Martin Haven who died today. They will bounce back on Saturday for the second race of the weekend. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of discussions, I think, to go on in the next, 36 hours.
Yep. It's not just the cars that are colourful at Oregon.
No, indeed. Indeed. If you're going to have cars that livery, you've got to have trousers to match.
Just saw the team boss. Yes, they are very, very proud of their slightly rebellious nature. Of course, rebellious, but they also really they don't take themselves seriously, they take their racing very seriously indeed.
And a very successful team as well, whether it's been in this, whether it's been in Renault Clios, whether it's been in the old V6 Clio Euro Cup days, or the European or the World Touring Car Championships. They ran the private Alpha 156s for a time. So the Lamborghinis then head back to the support race paddock, and it shows the scale of Le Mans, that there's so much in the infield that you've got to have 2 support categories on that part of the track.
The public road you see there, that used to be the racetrack. That's just after the Maison Blanche section, and it continues up just to the left-hand side of the wheel, and that's where it would join the old pits.
Indeed. And there, the kart track in the background. Now, the marshals have got a lot of sweeping up to do. We've got still plenty of on-track activity today, more racing, as well as the cars for the 24 hours to go and have the hyperpole part of qualifying, and also another free practice session or 2. So the circuit has got to be in good order to allow those cars. You can see the track sweeper in the background. But right now,
a lot of track sweeping.
Yeah, Mattia Michelotto can celebrate his win, I was going to say.
Yes, absolutely he can. And for those who have to lick their wounds, well, they've got another day and a half to do so. No racing on Friday for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, but they will be first up on Saturday morning, and their race will begin at 09:15, which will be a slender 5 hours after the DJ stops his set on the stage. So
good. Bring
indeed.
The espresso, will you?
Indeed. So they and we will both be feeling fairly tired. Amaury Bonduelle just backing out of shot there as his car is craned onto the flatbed. Plenty to think about. And he has a grid penalty for Saturday's race. We'll see you 9 o'clock Saturday morning for race 2.